Hello N0nce, again, thanks for joining me on this night walk. Comic relief is on, so I thought I'd take a walk instead. Who's watching that crap? Apparently it's the last one now, so I'm not watching, I'm not donating, because Lenny Henry doesn't want any more white saviours, does he? Helping out, so he can go and, take the proverbial. Anyway, where do I start with this one? Joey Barton, Jeremy Vine. There's a legal battle between them coming up, defamation. Now, Jeremy Vine, I'm not a fan of Jeremy Vine at all. He's your typical middle class, sneering, hypocritical snob. He really is. The other guy is Joey Barton, former footballer turned manager Turned pundit turned anti-woke folk hero. And this all started with Joey Barton making some choice comments about female football commentators. And I can see his point. If you watch and listen to these women talking about male football, which they have no experience in, it makes sense what he says. They haven't got a clue what they're talking about. They talk a certain nonsense. And his argument is they're only doing it because they're basically diversity hires. They're there because they tick boxes. Again, I can see his point. Now, Jeremy Vine took exception to this, and I think he wrote on Twitter that Joey Barton is saying this because of a head injury through football, heading footballs, and so it's affected him mentally. Joey Barton took exception to this and called Jeremy Vine a bike nonce. Now, I was a prison officer for 11 years, and the term nonce is to describe someone who has been convicted of a sex crime, rapist, paedophile, etc. Now, Joey Barton could have kind of got away with this, but he followed up by tweeting for people to be careful of their children in primary schools when Jeremy Vine cycles past. So that kind of gives weight to Jeremy Vine's argument that Joey Barton has labelled him a paedophile. Now, whether Jeremy Vine is a paedophile, we don't know. He hasn't been charged or anything, convicted of such a heinous crime. And so he's taken him to court. He wants money, lots of money, for defamation. And here's the thing. Jeremy Vine was like the star witness in Alex Belfield's court appearance, where that idiot decided to defend himself and subsequently landed himself with a couple of years in Nick, which is still serving. I think he's out either late this year or next year anyway. And so Jeremy Vine turned up as a star witness and gave a performance, an Oscar-winning performance, started crying, etc. And looking at the paperwork, if you read the court papers regarding what Alex Belfield did, Jeremy Vine wasn't the most targeted individual by what Alex Belfield did. And what Alex Belfield did, by the way, for you Belfidiots out there who still are like blinkered, was heinous. It did stalk people. It did try to ruin lives. And I know Katie Hopkins on a video says he never went up to anyone, knocked on doors or approached or touched anyone. But what he did was bad enough. He did try to ruin lives, big time. And is in the right place. Now, in hindsight, looking back, the amount of jail time he got was probably excessive. He should have had a year, maybe tops, as a bit of a shock. And that's it. But during that trial, Jeremy Vine called Alex Belfield infamously the Jimmy Savile of trolling. Now, of course, Jimmy Savile is now only known for one thing and one thing only, and that is to being the ultimate nonce, a depraved individual. And for Jeremy Vine to compare Alex Belfield to him is defamation in itself, in my opinion. Again, Alex Belfield, maybe loads of things, but a pervert he's not. Well, he hasn't been convicted or charged with anything of that nature anyway. So Why didn't Alex Belfield sue Jeremy Vine for that? Because he's clearly not a nonce. And while we're talking about Alex Belfield, why hasn't he still sued the BBC? That's what he asked his subs and viewers for, wasn't it? Remember? That's my beef with him. I don't care if he came across as fake in his videos and showed off his expensively garish stuff in his house during live streams, etc., and talked down to callers. It's his channel, he can do what he wants, or wanted. But he asked people for money for one thing and one thing only. I never did it. Why? Anyway, back to Vine and Joey Barton. So if I was Joey Barton, because he was being sued for calling Jeremy Vine a nonce, he could use that. The fact that Jeremy Vine labelled someone, Jimmy Savile, the ultimate nonce. So why is it okay for Jeremy Vine to do that and no one else to do that to Jeremy Vine? He's a hypocrite, isn't he? And I'd love to see Jeremy Vine legally brought down a peg or two anyway. This is the guy who suggested that people who were sceptical of the jab to be held down and given it. Who suggests such a thing? That kind of thing only happens in a restrictive dictatorship, doesn't it? But there we go, he was one of these L-down, you know what I'm talking about, fanatics, and there were many of them in the mainstream media, and many of them still haven't apologised for it, because things have turned out otherwise, haven't they? They were part of the narrative. How dare they be a part of something that ruined people's lives and businesses and ostracised people who were sceptical. He was one of them. So I chipped in a tenner into Joey Barton's GoFundMe because I want to see Jeremy Vine legally brought down a peg or two. Because he's one of these people, if you watch him on Twitter, I'm blocked by the way, but I've got other accounts. He's on his bike, he's got his little camera on his helmet, and he looks for trouble with motorists to blame them and make himself look the victim. He likes being the victim, Jeremy Vine, I think. You'll probably sue me for this video now. Good luck with that one. So there we go. That's the tale of the tape. That's what's happening. Oh, I forgot to mention. I gave 10 quid to Joey Barton. And then I realised, hang on, he's worth a lot of money, Joey Barton. He's worth his net worth is like 5 million quid. And I just gave him a tenner to defend himself from defamation. And he says that any money he wins will go to Old Delay Children's Hospital. And I thought, hang on, he's a defendant here. He won't win any money at all, will he? If he does, it's just the court costs. That's all he'll win, which would be nothing for him, a drop in the water. So he got multi-millionaire Jeremy Vine suing multi-millionaire Joey Barton for hurty words. And it's us working class people who are struggling paying for it. I didn't realise that till afterwards. Joey Barton should defend himself, really. He's got the money. I agree with what he says, but still, why rope us into it? We already back you spiritually because we really don't like Jeremy Vine, do we? Anyway, that's it for this evening. Oh, my light's going. Oh, bloody hell, should have charged that. Never mind. Right. Thanks for joining me. I'm Paz49, and until the next time, Roger Trout.